nations would show up, take their beatings, fill out the bracket, and then politely clear the way for the big, glamorous, bankable football giants to march toward the latter rounds, where the huge TV audiences and the real money live. The minnows were supposed to be set dressing, speed bumps, easy 3 points on the way to the matches that actually sell. Instead, the minnows refused to leave, and the group stage turned into a graveyard for that entire idea. Shocks on almost every single match day, traditional powers pushed to the brink, and a wave of first-timers and long shots writing history. The expansion didn't water the World Cup down. It just widened the number of teams capable of pure magic. The critics who swore this format would produce lopsided blowouts and dead games got it exactly backwards. But of all the underdog stories at this tournament, there's one dark horse in particular that shocked the entire world last night. So let's start there because it might be the most emotional story of the whole World Cup. The Democratic Republic of Congo. To understand what they just did, you have to understand where they came from. The last time Congo played at a World Cup was 1974, back when the country was still called Zaire. They were the first sub-Saharan African nation ever to appear at the tournament, and it was a massacre. They lost all 3 games by a combined score of 14-0. Then, for 52 long years, nothing. No World Cup, no return to the biggest stage in the sport. A footballing wilderness. So when Congo showed up in 2026 and held Cristiano Ronaldo's Portugal to a 1-1 draw in their opening match, that alone was a miracle. A 1-0 loss to Colombia then left them teetering on the edge of elimination, which set up everything for their final group game against Uzbekistan, win, and they'd reach the knockout rounds of a World Cup for the very first time in their history. But before we even get to the match, there is a detail that tells you everything about how messy this World Cup has been off the pitch. Congo's most famous supporter is a fan known as Lumumba Veya, a man who has become a genuine symbol in the stands, instantly recognizable for the way he stands completely, eerily still during matches, while everyone around him goes wild. He's an icon for Les Léopards. And for the biggest game in his nation's modern footballing history, he wasn't there. Why? Because his visa to enter the United States was not approved. Let that sink in. On a night Congo made history, their most iconic fan was stuck on the wrong side of a border, watching from home, because the host country and the organization running this tournament could not get their entry process sorted out. And he is not an isolated case. This has been a running theme of the 2026 World Cup. Fans with legitimate tickets denied visas, supporters locked out, even officials turned away at the border. FIFA sold the world a united tournament across 3 countries, and then a chunk of the actual people who make the World Cup what it is could not physically get in. So one of the defining images of Congo's greatest night was an absence. The empty space where their most famous fan should have been standing perfectly still. Now, the match. And the weight on these players was almost unimaginable. Hours before kickoff, the president of Congo himself released a statement, telling the team that more than 100 million Congolese stood behind them. Families, elders, soldiers, workers, children, the diaspora, all of it. 11 men carrying the dreams of 100 million. And at first, they buckled. As striker Yoane Wissa admitted afterward, they started terribly, poorly, because of the sheer weight on their shoulders. Uzbekistan scored after just 20 seconds, chalked off for offside, then scored again 9 minutes in, and that one counted. A Congo equalizer was ruled out by the video assistant referee for a handball. The nightmare was unfolding in real time. But then, The breakthrough. Congo won a penalty, and Wissa stepped up and buried it. And then, as regulation time ran out, Wissa struck again with a pinpoint finish to seal it, 3-1. And in that instant, a nation of 100 million exploded. Congo's players collapsed onto the grass, overwhelmed. Their first World Cup win ever. Their first time ever reaching the knockout stage. Wissa summed it up with a line that should give you chills. We came from far, from nothing to be here. Now we write our story with a black pen, and we need to be proud. From nothing to the last 32. Their reward? A date with England, one of the best teams on the planet. And Wissa wouldn't have it any other way. We deserve to play against England. Lions are waiting for us. Leopards, we know how to react. And here's the thing, Congo are not alone, not even close. Because this World Cup has become a graveyard for the idea that the small nations don't belong. You already know about Cape Verde, the 500,000-person island nation that drew with Spain, drew with Uruguay, and finished second in their group to reach the knockouts on their debut, without winning a single game, the smallest country by population ever to go through. But the pattern is staggering. African football just had one of its greatest World Cups ever. Of the 10 African nations at this tournament, only one, Tunisia, failed to reach the second round. 9 out of 10. Morocco, Senegal, Ghana, Egypt, Côte d'Ivoire, South Africa, Cape Verde, Algeria, and DR Congo. An entire continent refusing to be the easy 3 points. South Africa beat South Korea 1-0 in a straight winner takes second place shootout. Ghana denied England all 3 points. Ecuador stunned Germany. The Giants kept getting bloodied by teams they were supposed to brush aside. But maybe the most heartwarming dark horse story belongs to a co-host, Canada. Because this is a team with a genuinely brutal World Cup history. Before 2026, Canada had played at the World Cup and never scored a single goal. Not one in their entire existence, partly the cruel reality of being a football nation, where the weather makes it almost impossible to play the game year-round. Then, this tournament happened. In their first game, they drew 1-1 and finally scored their first ever World Cup goal. Then in their second, they didn't just win, they obliterated their opponent 6-0, their first World Cup victory ever, and advanced out of the group for the first time in their history. 3 records shattered in a week on home soil, from never scoring a goal to a 6-0 demolition and a place in the knockouts. And let's not forget the other co-host flexing right now, Mexico. While the underdogs grabbed the headlines, Mexico quietly went out and won all 3 of their group games, a perfect 9 points, leading the way as one of the most informed teams in the entire tournament. The hosts are not here to make up the numbers either. So let's bring it all back, because this is the part that really stings for FIFA. They built a bigger tournament expecting the giants to go deep and the small teams to disappear. Instead, the minnows are the main event. And now they're loose in the knockout rounds, where a single result can end a giants tournament. Congo get England. Cape Verde get Messi's Argentina. Every one of these underdogs is now standing directly between a glamorous, profitable, deep-run favorite and the next round. Every dark horse that wins is a marquee nation going home early. The further these teams run, the more the carefully planned, money-friendly bracket gets blown to pieces. But here's the truth underneath all of it, and it's why this is the best thing about the whole tournament. This is what the World Cup is actually for.